Welcome everyone. Hey, welcome everyone to the Mind Design Podcast, podcast number 8.
Let's
I'm
go.
Brian Marsolais, and I am with the Ron Carter.
The real Ron Carter. If you follow my Instagram, that's I'm the real one. There's other ones out there. Welcome. So, episode
Welcome.
8. It's funny because right before we recorded this, Brian, you were saying that like we were comparing some of you guys may know this guy, you may not, depends on if you watch business stuff, but we were talking about Alex Hermosi and his content strategy for like creating content on social media. And and it's funny because Brian said he's like, yeah, but we're just two guys that talk about cool stuff. And the cool thing is it's like, yes, that's true. Um, but like we've both done some things too, right? It's like so this is one thing that I've noticed is that like, okay, if I am like we actually have reason for people to want to watch when it comes to mindset, right? We do talk about anything and everything. But like you've accomplished things in your life that you wouldn't have been able to accomplish without knowing how to shift your thinking, right? And I've done that too. And so that automatically, not to like toot our own horns or anything, but that automatically kind of like makes us a credible source to listen to when it comes to being able to shift your thinking, right? It's just like if I was 17 years old and decided to make content about uh, having a fulfilling marriage because I
Hmm.
want to help people have a fulfilling marriage. But I am a junior in high school and have never been married. It's like, who's going to listen to that advice? Right? It's all hearsay. This is all stuff you just heard from other people. But if somebody is in their 40s, maybe had a divorce or two, and is now in a fulfilled marriage and has been for a long time, well, I'm going to listen to that person when they talk about that because I know that they've been through the trenches and then they got out of the trenches.
Yeah, they've already done it. They've been there, done it. Um, I know there's a saying, there's a Chinese saying that says something like, if you want to walk down a certain journey, ask the people who are returning back on the path.
Mm.
I know I butchered that up pretty good, but you get the point.
Still sounded pretty philosophical. I think you
Yeah.
you, you did all right.
It's okay, man. Uh,
No, that actually made me think. So we went hiking a couple weeks ago, right? And we went to this trail in the Santa Monica Mountains, and we took the dog Coda with us. And this trail, this specific trail, it's a loop trail. So you go up this hill, right? And then you could decide if you're going to go to the right or to the left because it's like you go up for a while and then the loop goes around and then you go back down this thing, right?
oh,
So
I
it's
got
like
yeah.
picture like a lasso where that a cowboy's holding.
And
It's
you
like
can
that's
go
like the
either
trail.
you go either way. It's
You can
not
go
like
right, you can go this way or you can go that way, right?
right.
And we did this trail a long time ago, maybe about a year ago. And when we did it before, somebody in the parking lot had told us to go counterclockwise,
Hmm.
right? And so we did go that way last time, and a lot of the stuff was really gradual at first. Like the incline was really gradual, like almost the whole way. It's probably like in total like 6 mile trail or something like that, 6 mile hike until like the last 2 miles. Um, then it was just like this really steep grade where we're going down 2 miles. It's like it was all like uphill, gradual. Then it was like, and I remember the first time we did it, thinking like, I'm really glad that we went the way that we did instead of hiking just up this first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And and uh and that's all because somebody that was coming off the trail, coming back down to the parking lot, had told us
Oh,
to go this way.
and here
And
we are.
yeah, and it's funny because we went back there. This was the first time we went. We went back there probably like 3 weeks ago, and we went the wrong way. We
You
meant
went
to go that same
clockwise.
way. Yeah, we went clockwise instead. And
Huh.
I was like, the whole time I was like, I don't remember this being this hard. Like this is difficult. The dog was gassed out. We actually had to abort the hike because he couldn't take it, right? He was like overheating, and so we turned around and came back down after about 2 miles. We almost got to that, and we just hiked up this really steep thing and then turned around and came home. Um,
Wow. So Coda got pooped up before you guys.
yeah, and
What kind of dog is he?
he is a uh, he's a Portuguese water dog and poodle mix.
Oh,
They call
okay.
him water doodles.
Water doodles, not meant for hiking.
Yeah,
Not the
he's a
hiking
beach dog.
doodle.
Yeah, yeah, doodles, poodles are water dogs too. So, um,
Hmm.
yeah,
There's some knowledge out there right there. Poodles. I never knew that.
yeah. It's funny. I used to think that I wouldn't like poodles. Like I never had one, right? I was like, it's curly haired dog. Like I don't like just want like a I don't want that. I don't know why. Just I was like, I don't well I would think of poodles like with the typical poodle haircut with all the poofs and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, that's not for
That's
me.
no way. Ron is way too manly for that. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought. I was like, nope, that's like
Yeah,
never in a million years. But
yeah.
I also just assumed that that's just what a poodle looks like. It's like, no, that's just a ridiculous haircut that people give to poodles. Uh,
Yeah. Okay, now we're losing we're losing people now.
It's
Oh,
like,
God.
what are we talking about?
Yeah, yeah. So so your great Coda, the manly looking dog that he is, rugged is a days long. Well, they have hair too instead of fur, right?
Yeah, they have curly hair, so they don't shed,
Yeah, and then you
which is
don't
great.
if it's a great dog. If you're allergic to dogs, that would be
Yeah,
the type of dog for you.
yeah. And we have a cat to make up for the lack of pet hair
Oh
across
yeah,
thrown
there
across
you
the
go.
house. So we got a cat, and now
Yeah.
and the cat sheds enough for both of them.
Yeah, that's great, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah,
You got to get those brushes, those lint brushes.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
something that I've been thinking about in regards to this podcast is like because I've been thinking about this over the last week because
Oh,
I've been
cool.
moving, right?
Yeah.
As you know, we were talking about it before. Um, so if you watched any of the other episodes, you may notice I'm in a new space
Mm.
because it's a new space, and so I was like looking around at like the house, right? And just there's a bunch of boxes and stuff isn't put away, and empty bookshelves, and stuff isn't rearranged right, and all this stuff, right? And and I was thinking like, all right, we got the place that we wanted, but it doesn't look like the place that we wanted that yet. And
Mm.
so far, we've done a bunch of work, right? It's like moving everything over, cleaning the old place, like making sure that it's like we leave the place better than we found it, right?
Mm.
Just a rule that I like to live by. Leave everything better than I found it, right? And so doing all that and the place, it's nice. We got more space, all this other stuff, things that we wanted, but it's not what we envisioned yet. And so there's still much more work to do because we just came in here 2 days ago on Saturday. And so I just thought, isn't that funny? Like that's how life tends to work. It's like I want something and I see it in my mind and I hold it in my mind. I'm like, this is what I want. And then the universe delivers and says, here you go.
Yeah.
And then along with that gift is unforeseen work. Work to the degree that like I knew there'd be work here, but I didn't really understand like the magnitude of it and the different things. Like just for an example, we were doing laundry today and put the clothes in the dryer and then I noticed that the dryer hose on the back of the dryer like pops off. And I look back then I'm like, oh, they didn't have a clamp on it. and I used to do appliance repair, so I know how to fix that. It's like go get a clamp, go to Lowe's, go get some clamps, pull the dryer out, get behind there, put the clamp on there right. They're always a pain in the ass. They always want to fall off and stuff. And then put it back. And so
Mm.
just it's like unforeseen work, right? I knew that we'd have to rearrange things, but it's like, okay, now I'm going to get dryer clamps and I'm putting this over here. Like I had to go to two places to find them. It took like an hour and a half out of the day just to get this damn dryer clamp on. And I needed to do it right then because there was wet clothes in the washing machine. Right.
Right on.
And so it's like these are like little things of like unforeseen work that, and every time that I want something in life, it comes with that. And I just thought, huh, that's like a really cool correlation to notice. And it's like there's so many people that I see that want like some sort of transformation or a big shift in their life, but they also don't want any of the unforeseen work that goes along with getting that or maintaining that. And because they don't want that stuff, then they don't end up getting the thing that, the ultimate vision of what they want. Um,
I
I
think
don't know.
that's
Have
a
you
great
noticed that?
I think that's a great point. I think what happens is when you visualize something you want, you have to still take the steps to get there. And the steps are given to you. It's just another way of the universe saying, okay, step A, step B, step C. It's like stepping stones, right? And it's the same thing to get to where you are. Like, you're not going to visualize, well, I mean, unless you hit the lottery or something. Oh, I want $1 million. No, you've got to have steps to make, your money work for you or whatever it is to get to a million. And that's a great point. I think there's a lot of people who give up on their visions because they can't handle the steps that are given to them. But the steps are clearly given to them. They just
Yeah,
don't realize it and they sabotage it.
yeah. And that's, I think that's such a good point, man. And this is something that I see that seems to be like missed in the, like at least in the digital marketing, like make money online space where people are teaching people how to make money on the internet, right? Um, which is a little aside from what we talk about here, but that's what I do on like my channel. And so I'm very familiar with this. And I was just on a call with somebody today who has been trying to affiliate market off and on for like the last year. Had a lot of time where he wasn't doing anything, right? And would stop and then he like would start again and but hasn't made any sales. Like hasn't had in his eyes progress, right? And and his vision is to make $1 million, right? And so and he shared with me that um he's realized that it's not really about $1 million. It's like, how do I impact 1 million people? And I was like, you're moving in the right direction. Like, this is good. Gave him positive reinforcement because all those dollars have to come from someone. People aren't going to give them to you just because you want them. You have
Yeah,
to give them
sure.
something of value to them. And
Yeah.
but then I said I had to help him break it down into smaller steps because a lot of people they see the big goal. But then when the little step right in front of them, like what you said, is clearly evident, they don't want to take that little step because they're so focused on the big goal that's like still far away and they don't see how they connect. And so I share with them, I was like, it's great that you have this big goal, but like I think basically to break it all down without rehashing the whole conversation, I said, hey, don't you think that it's like much more like feasible and easily conceivable to just sell one person your $100 offer? Like just focus on that. Like you can't get to 1 million without making 100, right?
Hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And I was like, so that's great. We know where we want to go. Let's just put that in the back of your mind and not even think about it right now and just focus on this. the next thing in front of you. And because once you do that, once you're only focused on the next step, well, there's nothing else to distract you. That's just the only thing to do. You know, like when the dryer couldn't work and the clothes were there, I was like, I had other plans and things I was supposed to be doing right then, but I was like, the clothes are gonna get gross. We're gonna have to wash them and get like, I gotta fix this dryer right now, and then just put in the
Mm.
time until it got fixed. you know,
Yeah, I don't know, like in California, do you guys have duct tape?
duct tape,
Hmm.
just like regular like that beige tape.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's silver usually in
Oh
New
yeah,
England.
the heat resistant kind.
Yeah, like duct, D-U-C-T,
Duct.
not
Yeah.
duck, D-U-C-K.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to all you viewers out there, handy duct tape
Yeah.
roll is always good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew that we had that, but also like the old appliance repair technician in me came
Yeah.
out and was like, that's not a long-term solution. Like there's supposed to be a clamp on here. And
There are no shortcuts with Ron Carter.
so if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. And
Yeah.
I went and got two clamps. So it's like I put one on and now we got a spare one. you
All
know?
right. Oh man.
Yeah. But that stuff is a miracle though. And when I was working on airplanes, we used to call it speed tape, but it's the same stuff. It's that
Yeah.
metallic tape where you take the stuff off and it's almost like aluminum foil, but it's really thick and it sticks.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sticks to everything.
Probably doesn't make you feel too good to know that we use that on airplanes, but
Yeah.
we did.
We're not going to tell you what we put on with them, but I think they got like, I think they've had like a couple doors blow off like passenger airlines in the last year.
Boeing.
Yeah.
Boeing is not having a good year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did anyone get hurt?
Not that well, not in those doors blowing off, but they did have some planes crash and everybody on them died like a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because of a malfunction. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we'll
there's actually a really good documentary on it on Netflix. If you just type in Boeing on Netflix, um, I watched it all because I'm
oh
a
yeah, because
nerd,
that's your trade.
Yeah,
But what is it downing Boeing or is it
it's well. Let's look. Let's look at Boeing stock, right, and just see what has happened.
all right. Oh, and while we're doing this, let us know. Anyone wants to talk about, we talk about everything, anything and everything.
Let's see. So Boeing stock in the last 5 days has gone up, but let's look at. All right, so this is in the last month. Had a nice little drop, and
Well,
it's
I
gone back
guess.
up. But really, let's look at 6 months. you know,
Mm,
going down. Let's look at the last 5 years. That's if we could really see it.
wow. Look at
So it went
that.
from like what is this 377 to now 190. That's a significant drop, right?
Yeah.
We look at max. Yeah, this is 29. This is when the planes started crashing. 2019. This might have
Hmm.
been. Oh, this is the pandemic drop, March
Yeah, yeah.
2020. But the
Oh
planes
yeah.
started crashing around then or around here too. There was like three planes that crashed. It's just a bunch of stuff that has to do with like negligence, and they had some new system, some new plane, and they had some
Yeah,
new
there were
system in that plane, and they didn't test it, and that system was
yeah.
causing planes to like nosedive into the ground.
And then there was whistleblowers and all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
If I read that right.
Well, basically, what was going on here, and I think that this kind of we can tie this into mindset really well, is so for a long time, Boeing was known as a company that was really focused on making really good products, right? Like just make the best, safest airplane possible. Who cares how much it costs to do that? Who cares how much we have to pay our engineers, how long things take to turn around or produce a plane? Because this is what we're doing. And
That's Boeing's model.
that's what it used to be.
Okay.
and then it got acquired, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know exactly when, but so a lot of the senior engineers got let go and they got replaced with people who were all focused on bringing up the company's bottom line. So that means cutting costs, cutting engineering hours, trying to move things through the assembly line quicker, quick fixes, just bottom line. And then that's led to what we see now, right?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so that just goes to show it's um like when I make products online now, when I make products to sell, um I used to just like crank out a product, record the video, okay, it's done, record the next videos, okay, that's done, and that will show people how to do this thing, then I sell it. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it. And now it's like, how can we do this better? How can we make this better?
Better questions.
Like, and it's like, yeah, I'll get people into it so that they can go through it, and then I'll ask them, how can I make this better? And then do it, and then get more people into it, have them go through it and ask them, how can we make this better? How can we improve this? Like, let's do this together. And because if the whole goal, if the goal is to make money, like for Boeing, right? The goal is to make money. Well, then you end up not focusing on the product, but the product is what makes you the money.
Mm.
So if you know, like, so like if you focus on the product and you make the best thing possible that serves people in the best way possible in the long run, you're gonna make the money because it's a byproduct of that. And it's the same thing with like us moving out of the place that we moved out of, and we wanted to leave the place better than we found it. Because here's the thing, if you want to know how you can make something really good like this, whether it's a product that you're developing, whether it's a team that you may be leading at work, whether it's your relationship, you want to make your relationship like so good, like with, you know, a loved one, a spouse, partner, just friends and family, like you want to show up as the best person that you possibly can. The easiest way to do that is instead of focusing on doing it in one area, focus on doing it in all areas, big and small. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything, you know?
Hmm.
And so like we're moving out and there's things that we could just be like, ah, like that's good. They're not gonna dip into our deposit for that. So we could just leave it. And it's like, well, or we could just fix it and like who cares about the deposit? We'll just leave this place better than we got it. Like we did a bunch of landscaping in the backyard over there. It's not our backyard. We didn't own it, but we made the property better. Like so much better that the next person that's renting it's paying way more than we were because like all these upgrades that we did to it, you know, but we did that because we just wanted a nicer space to be in. And so I found that when you focus on doing that everywhere, you automatically do it in the area that you want to do it in.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting that you say that because if you take life, right, and you put it in a wheel or say a pie, so you get your relationships, you've got your fun activities, you've got your friends, you've got finances, you've got um, just a bunch of stuff. I've noticed myself when I'm focused maybe on my businesses more. Now I'm focused so much on my business that I'm losing sight of my relationships.
Hmm.
So now those are going downhill a little. So then you gotta say, okay, wait a minute. Now my relationships, they're not as crisp as they were. So now you gotta jump on that again. But then your business depletes a little bit. So there's a certain balance that, I always try to find, which is hard to do. It's challenging. Let's put it that way. It's challenging.
Yeah, I I think that's a really cool observation because it's kind of like an eternal game of whack-a-mole.
Exactly. That's a
Yeah.
good metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah. But and I think that it really seems inevitable, like when you're actually growing. that eternal game of whack-a-mole. Because here's the thing that I just wish that we could do, right? That I could just focus and grow in all areas at once,
Mm.
simultaneously, at the same
Yeah.
time. But I'm not saying that that's impossible, because I don't like to say anything is, right? But what I found is that when I am growing in an area, it tends to look a lot like what you just described.
Yeah.
And and I think that the reason behind that is there's certain challenges in my business that develop character traits within me, right? And then I can use those same character traits in other areas of my life. There's also certain challenges in other areas of my life, relationships, anything, friendships, uh, that develop character traits that I could use in my business. But whenever I'm going through any challenge in any of these areas, whether it's pleasure, whether it's business, whether it's some other part of my life, the challenge tends to take up most of my focus. Because there's a challenge and then I'm focusing on it. And then the other things get less focus. But then it's like I beat that level or I finish that challenge and I notice these other things aren't getting as much focus and I'm like, oh, go back to those. But what I don't notice, I just notice the flipping and flopping, the back and forth, the whack-a-mole. But what I don't notice is that every time I whack one mole down and I go to the other one, like I've grown through that process. And so I'm going back and forth, going back and forth. And really that back and forth, it's actually that's how that the thing that I want, where it's like I just want to expand and grow in all areas, that's actually what that looks like. It looks like the whack-a-mole back and forth, but the long-term vision of that is this expanding in all areas,
Mm. And
you
I,
know.
I, I think that that never changes in life. I used to think, 20 years ago, oh, I'm going to get it to a certain place and then I can just let it go and everything's hunky dory and
Chill out.
chill out. But it's never the case. It's like there's always something,
Yeah.
So, the mind is so important. It's just one of those key areas where we have to just stay on it all the time. And it and like the questions I ask myself is, well, how do I make it fun? How do I make it fun while achieving? And those are the questions that will, you know, plummet. Yeah, it'll make your life either, you'll do really well or you're not going to listen to that and you're just going to, just stay stale, which to me is plummeting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. It's like the process is the process. We get to decide whether we're going to enjoy it or not.
Right.
Yeah. And I used to I'm curious if you feel this way too or if you used to. But I used to when I first started going through this process because I all I wanted was for it to be chill. I wanted the growth with none of the work. Like we were talking about earlier, right? I wanted the result with none of the inherent work that created the result. So when things started to become not so chill, because it's like I set this goal, the universe like here's the steps to get there, and I'm like this is not chill. Um, I used to almost be stressed that things aren't chill. I'd be like moving through life like I gotta do this, or I gotta, or and I gotta do this, and like just get out of my way because I gotta do this, and and I would be thinking like when are things just gonna chill out where I could do this stuff and just be chill. When's that gonna happen for me? And does this resonate with you at all? Did you at least feel like this, like the beginning of growing your business and
Yeah,
going
I
through these
mean, I
stages?
I think right out of the gate, you want to be like a certain size company or a certain wealth, like enough wealth, and you want things way before you've earned them,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? And I, and then once you start running a business and you realize, well, this isn't as easy as I thought it was, right? But you keep going, and then it develops on its own eventually. If you keep driving forward, you won't fail.
Yeah.
I think, for me, I think the first thing that helped me the most was realizing what I was saying to myself. And I transformed my vocabulary. So now all of a sudden, instead of things being impossible, you'd say, well, they're a challenge. And the minute I started changing my vocabulary, then I realized all the people around me who had that negative vocabulary, and it's not their fault. It's just they haven't been taught. They haven't been taught what you say to yourself is really affecting you.
Right.
But that was the biggest game changer for me, was to change my vocabulary and then almost make it a game. Because then you start observing everything around you and everyone around you. And I noticed like the people who wanted to live the life I wanted at the time, they were always so, I don't want to say positive, but they were always like finding solutions. And the people that were failing miserably and living lives that I didn't want to live or live anymore, they were always looking at the problem.
Finding problems instead of finding solutions.
Exactly. And then once I started realizing that from my surroundings, I could start easily saying, well, I don't want to be like that, so I am not going to act like that. And that was a game changer,
Right. Yeah.
you know? But that's what, if when I look back, that was originally what I did. I learned transformational vocabulary first. That was like one of the first things I learned. And
That's
you know,
it's really huge because one of the things that, you know, this kind of seems like it's a little bit to the side, but it's not, because what you just shared made me think of this. Um, like a lot of people, okay, instead of saying a lot of people, I'll say me, right? When I first started doing business stuff, I couldn't get myself to do the things that I said that I wanted to do, right? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wake up early. I'm gonna do this many cold reach outs, like reach out to this many people, like make an offer, get sales, and then I'd wake up late. It's like 10 a.m. and I'm like groggy because I stayed up late last night, and then I'm like,
10 a.m. I guess that's late. Oh, all
so
right.
I wake. Well, I told myself I was gonna wake up at like 5, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, now it's 10, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't do the thing I said I was gonna do. And then I'm like, well, I'll reach out to like one person, and then like I'll go get lunch, and then I'm like gonna wait for them to respond, and then they don't respond. I'm like, see, none of this is working. It's like, and
Yeah.
and then I was in this loop where this was happening a lot, right? And but this could apply to you if you're like, I'm gonna go to the gym today. I'll do it right after work. I'm gonna go straight from work to the gym before I even go home. The next
Hmm.
thing you know, you're getting off work, and then it's like autopilot. You notice that your keys are just going into the front door of the house, and you're like, I didn't go to the gym. You're like, but I'll do it in a little bit. At first, and you notice yourself going into that same groove of routine that you usually go down, and then you keep saying, I'm gonna do it. Then I'm gonna do it here. I'm gonna do it there, and then you don't do it. Um, I used to wonder why I could never do the things that I said I was going to do to myself. Um,
Mm.
and the reason is because I didn't trust myself. And
Mm.
and the reason why I didn't trust myself is because I used to lie. I used to lie to, well, I mean, I used to lie to other people, right? Even if they're little white lies, right? For social situations. I used to tell those all the time. Um, and I used to lie to myself too about things that I said I was going to do. And so I did not trust myself. The reason why I did not trust myself is because I am the only person who has heard every lie that I have ever told. I'm the only one who has heard every single one of those. And it's like,
Hmm.
well, if I heard somebody else, another human being, lie the amount of times, like if I heard this single person lie the amount of times that I've heard myself lie, like to myself and to others, would I trust that person? No, I wouldn't. So that's why I didn't trust myself. And
Hmm.
so when I would tell myself, you're going to go to the gym as soon as you get off work, before you even get home, like the other part of my mind was like, yeah, right, bro. Like, okay, here we go again. All right.
Yeah.
And then I
Wow. So
wouldn't
I'm
do it. But
I'm so interested. How did you get out of that?
uh, I started doing very small things. Instead of saying I'm going to do this big overarching thing, it was telling myself, like, yeah, okay, you want to wake up at 4 a.m., but like, let's just relax a little bit. Like, how about we're gonna wake up at 9 because you already wake up at 10. So let's just wake up at 9. And how about saying we're gonna reach out to one person? Hold on one second. What's going on, Sean? Come on in, man. The dog's put up in the crate. You're good to go. Yeah, no problem. Coda, relax. So I started doing little things that were very similar to what I was already doing, right? There's just maybe a tiny little shift. And I'd say, like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 9 instead of 10. And when I wake up at 9, I'm going to reach out to one person to try to sell my offer to. That's it for today. I'm going to do that. And lo and behold, I'm actually able to do that. So I do it. I'm like, oh, like I start building trust. I start saying little things that I can do that are very well within my scope of things that I can do. And I start doing them, right?
Hmm.
I stop telling little white lies to people. Like if somebody is asking for my opinion on things, like, hey, do you like, do you want this dish? Do you want that dish? I'm like, I don't like those. Like, I'll tell people right away if I don't like something.
Hmm.
Like, and I don't feel like I have to cater my opinion on things to like what they like. And I'll even say like I don't like that. Like I don't care if you like them. If you like them, I love that. But I'm just saying like me personally, like I just don't like that show. Like I don't really care for it. It's like I lose interest in it. Like me and my girlfriend will be watching a show, and if I think it sucks, like halfway through, like we'll start watching something, I'll be like, she'll look over and be like, "What's wrong?" I'll be like, "I don't know. I don't really like this." And she'd be like,
Yeah.
"Well, do you want to watch something else?" I'm like, "No, I don't care. You can leave it on." I'm just saying, it's like it's just not. This is not it for me, you know. But I don't care if it's on.
Yeah.
If you like it, like we'll keep watching it. But it's just not my thing. And
Ron's like, that movie is insulting my intelligence, okay?
don't get me wrong, I still watch stuff like that. We started watching a movie
Uh,
called Under Paris like a couple of days ago. Terrible shark movie about some shark that swims upstream and it's like terrorizing the waters in the canal in Paris. Terrible. Um, so if you like bad shark movies, there
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, you may love it. Terrorizing Jaws over Paris.
So bad.
Is it Paris or is it Italy?
Paris.
Hmm.
It's in like whatever that uh main like water channel that's going through Paris is. I forgot the name of it. Um, like I say, I forgot the name of it. But this is what I mean, right? With radical honesty, I heard
Yeah.
myself say that, and I was like, wait a minute, I never knew the name of it. They said the name of it in the movie, and then I was like, oh, that's what it's called.
Yep.
And now I've forgotten it again.
There you go. That's how important that is to Ron.
But that's how you change these things, right? Is it's just like, hey, how do you gain self-confidence? Or how do you gain self-esteem? By doing esteemable acts, right? It's
Yeah,
in the doing.
exactly. Yep.
And yeah.
Little steps of courage will get you there. Just little steps,
That's it.
you know. I used to always say because I said I would, that's why,
Yeah,
you know.
that's a good one.
Yeah, because I said I would, that's why.
I do that too now, you know?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that, you have to be so rigid and strict. Um, but when you live in the United States, you got to make some money, to get ahead or just to live stable, you know. So you really just need to stay on it and, ask yourself those great questions, but ask yourself questions like how can I have fun while doing it? And that
Yeah,
is a big changer because your mind will come up with the answer.
yeah,
How do I get in shape? Well, you don't have to be in an indoor gym. You could be out there maybe riding a bicycle.
yeah. Another one that I like that just
Y-
came to me, but I realized that I've asked myself this. I've done this a lot. If I'm doing something that I feel like I like in the moment, I feel like I don't like it, but I know I have to continue doing it to get the result that I want. It's like, how can I have fun doing this? Right? Like you said, another one that's worked really well for me, especially if it's something that I know I'm going to have to continue doing day by day, is how can I make a game out of this?
Hmm.
I've done that myself. Like, how can I make a game out of this?
Yeah.
And I did that when Tyga and I started our business last year. I was like, how can I make this a game? And so the game was like the money was the score, right? Was the high score, like cash that we collected, that's the score, just like you're playing a game. And I took all the daily action because I asked myself this question. I thought of this, right? So I'm not saying that this is what you have to do. Ask yourself a question and your brain will come up with answers like this. And I had sticky notes for I knew the daily actions I had to take every day. And I wrote down on sticky notes each one of those daily actions, right? And I literally put them on my wall behind my computer. And so there was sticky notes for like the different things that I had to do, and there was one sticky note per day. And so I would on Monday I would take the action and I would move the sticky note over. I had a piece of tape over here on the wall, like just electrical tape, a line, right? And the right side of the line signified that this has been done for the week, right?
Hmm.
So I go through the day and I do the thing and I would move it over to the right side of the line and be like, yeah, okay, I moved it over. Then I do the next thing, move it over to the right side of the line. And then I would do that all throughout the week. And then I also had another area over here which signified uh, there was one sticky note with a number on it, and that's how much revenue we had collected for that week, and or how much revenue we collected so far. And then there was a piece of electrical tape that was like a dividing line, and then there was the goal number that we wanted to hit to. So every time we collected $1, I'd write the total collected on a new sticky note and put it over there. So I'd see we made $1 out of the 2,000 that we want to make. And so as I'm moving these sticky notes over, I noticed that the number gets higher too. And I'm like, okay, so I move these over, then I increase my high score, and then I get to this thing, and it made it a game. And I did that for a couple months until things that I needed to move over, the actions that I needed to do, became second nature, and I didn't need to put them on a board anymore. So I just do
Hmm.
them, you know?
I think that's kind of cool. I actually think that I don't care what level you're at. I think that having it always in front of you.
Yeah, it was behind my computer, so it's like I
Yeah.
see it, and I'm like, oh, I still have to do this for today, and then I move it over. I see a payment come in, I'm like, cool, and I update it, and I'm like, all right, cool, we made 1,000 out of the 2,000 so far, and it's like, all right, and every time we did that, actually, now that I think about that, see, I'm thinking I should do that again, but we just moved in a new house. I don't know if my girlfriend would like sticky notes all over the wall,
Well, we're gonna
even if it's
find
in
out
the
who.
office.
We'll bring that up in the next podcast. Who's wearing the pants at Ron's house? Oh boy.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
but I was just thinking, like, let's say someone wanted to lose weight and their ideal weight was, and I'm just gonna throw a number, 180 pounds, right? I'm just gonna throw a number out there. What if you took a sticky note and stuck it on your refrigerator, 180? So whenever you go to the refrigerator, you see that 180, that goal, and maybe you won't open it.
That actually brings up a really good point. I heard this from somebody else. Uh, there's this guy, I don't know his first name, but I think his name is Dr. Kashi, right? And so he is a like leading doctor when it comes to weight loss, fitness, and nutrition. Knows a bunch of science stuff about this, right? And
Mm,
he had a program where he's helping people like lose weight to get into better shape, and he started taking stuff out of the program because he wanted to make it less complicated. And and so what he found when he was testing, he was looking at all of his successful students, the ones that achieved the best results, and looking at the common thing that they all did out of everything that he said to do. It's like, okay, forget all that. What are the things that you actually did? Because they're not always going to line up. And he found that the most common thing that they all did was to actually weigh themselves daily. Like they just
really?
stepped on the scale. They knew what their goal was and they stepped on the scale every day.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And so then he transformed his program. This is the crazier part. He transformed his program to make it an accountability program to make sure that people weigh themselves daily. All of his science that he took all the stuff that he had before out. He said, this is what we do. You weigh yourself every day. You set your goal. You weigh yourself every day. You like check in with all of us to say that you did it.
Wow.
And that's it.
And do you
That's it.
record your weight every day?
I don't know the specifics of if they recorded it or if he had them record it, but this is what he did for his clients. And they continued to lose weight. And then clients would ask him like, hey, like, so I'm just wondering like if you have any ideas of like better things that I should eat, or like because they want to keep like improving. And he would say just what you have been eating. And they're like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're moving in the right direction towards your goal, right? And they're like, yeah. He was like, so keep doing what you're doing.
Hmm.
And they're like, so he basically took out all the complication of helping them get to the goal, because this kind of this kind of hones in on the fact that the brain is a goal achieving machine. And if you know where you want to go and you are measuring consistently where you're at, the brain, your mind, will continue to find avenues to help you get there. Just like if you ask better questions, your mind will give you better answers.
Hmm. I love that.
And so like that whole game thing that I played that I've made on the board, really like the most important thing that was on there was like I had the revenue that I wanted to make for the month, and I had the revenue that we've currently made for the month down to the cent, always there. So my mind
Hmm.
always saw that. It's like, this is what I want to make, this is what we have made. And side note, every time that we hit the goal, even if it was halfway through the month, like work almost stopped to a standstill. Like we do stuff, but it's like we wouldn't make that. We never like just way overshot the mark, because in my mind I'd be like, we did it, and then next month we just make a higher goal, you know. But
Typical CEO. Set the bar higher, set it higher, set it higher. Right?
but yeah, so if you have something like what you said, a goal weight, like posted somewhere where you always see it, and you're also starting your day like measuring where you're at, stepping on the scale. Even if you don't write it down, you step on it, you see it, you measured it, it's in your mind, and then you see where you want to be when you look at your fridge. You'll automatically, unconsciously start making better decisions that lead you to that goal.
Yeah, right. Hmm. Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like because we all have that power to do that and to change our situation. And I feel like a lot of time we don't actually change it because there's something missing. We either are so focused on where we're at and how we don't like it but we're not thinking at all about the goal or where we want to go, right? Or we're just so wrapped up in the goal and where we want to go, and then we're not thinking at all about where we're at. And if you think about like a GPS, the only way like Apple Maps or Google Maps works is if it knows where I want to go, and it has to also know where I'm going there from, right? Or else it can't map out the directions. If I just say, take me to Times Square, New York, but I don't have any other data, it's like, well, where are you going to Times Square, New York from? Like, I can't show you the step-by-step way to get
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Point
If,
A.
yeah, where's point A at? It's the same thing with our mind, you know?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. And it's like what people use for themselves, right? Like let's just stay on the diets, right? And things like that and unhealthy eating. So, the fat kid or whatever, let's just say the fat kid, right? The fat kid, something happens that it makes them feel bad. So what do? They get comfort from eating. So they're going to eat some more, right? And they're going to gain some more weight. They're going to look in the mirror and they're going to like, oh shit. So then they're going to feel bad and they're going to eat some more. And that circle continues, you know? So breaking that spell would be, you know, maybe put the sticky note on there and just a reminder. It's just reminders of where you want to be, or maybe a picture of what you want to look like, or, any of those things that can offset your mind so you don't have the habit that you've had your whole life or a good part of your life.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're talking about is like breaking loops. Like, do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
explain it to our audience, please.
Well, it's like that what that situation that you just described. It's like feel bad, eat to feel better. Like once that habit is formed, it's happening on a subconscious level. It's not
Yeah,
like it's not there isn't thought happening. There isn't like a mental narrative happening that's saying I don't feel good right now, so I better eat to feel better. It's just happening,
right.
right? And so that's like a loop. It's like
Yep.
there's this stimulus that happens, and then there's this reaction in this outcome with no thought in between. It's a loop. And so what you're talking about is putting something else in between there that causes like a brief moment of pause, like gives
Hmm.
you the opportunity to break the loop in the moment.
Yeah. And
And
I think,
it's not going to work every time, but sometimes it will. Sometimes it will, and then it will work more and more, and then it will work more and more. The loop will keep getting broken, and then eventually, what happens is you start to form a new loop, where it's like at first you don't feel good, then you go to the fridge, you want to go get some junk food or some snack food, then you see like the picture of how you want to be or your ideal weight, and then you remember what your weight was when you woke up this morning, and then you all of a sudden you realize like, wait, if I do this, I'm not going to get to that, and then you start to learn something else to do to cope with the uncomfortability that you had,
yeah, you're breaking a pattern.
right? And then all of a sudden the new thing that you do to cope with that uncomfortability becomes the loop, and it doesn't involve any of the stuff that's leading to like the overweightness, right? I mean, maybe just the new thing is just Netflix, right? I mean, you can still sit and watch a Netflix show and eat something that's a little bit healthier, and the Netflix show is giving you the comfort. It's still a step in the right direction, right?
Yeah, right. It's just not as sharp. It's like, okay, just mildly do the change and you'll succeed better because it's a mild thing. And over time, you'll be a whole new you.
Yeah, and the mildness in the change helps you actually be able to maintain it, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's pretty interesting.
yeah,
I think so, we need to figure out a way to break that bad habit, install a new habit, just like we do with our belief systems. And then we need to reinforce our new habit to make that long lasting.
Yeah, so in your opinion, Brian, what do you feel is like the best way to do that?
The best way to break a habit.
Yeah, like just in general, right? Like let's say that um because I want to be able to I want to be able to like distill this down to somebody who maybe isn't having trouble with the weight loss thing, but it's like okay, because the way you said that sounds very simple, right? It's like okay, like we break a bad habit, we enforce a new habit, but it's like, well, what's the best way to actually go about doing that, right? It's like I know that we can measure things, um, and measure where we're at, where we want to go, but we also have to deal with the belief system. It's like so I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that. You know, like the best ways to go about actually doing that seem to be the most effective in your experience.
Yeah. Well, I think I think the first thing you need to do is be honest with yourself. And it's just like when you came to the clarity of saying, you know what, I'm the biggest liar on the planet. At least you were to yourself.
Yeah,
But you had to come to that um, realization, right? Just like the alcoholic, the first step, right, is to see that you're an alcoholic, right? Is that pretty
yeah,
accurate?
yeah. The
So if you're,
principle, the principle behind the first step is honesty. There's a principle behind every step, and the
hmm
principle behind the first one is honesty, like radical honesty with self.
yeah, because if you're not honest with yourself, how can you be honest with anybody?
Yeah.
Right, right. So I think that, first of all, you need to have a vision, and you're going to have a vision of where you want to be, what you want to do, who you want to become, who you want people to look at you and say, wow, you know. Um, I think you need to find that first. Step one. And anyone who's looking for transformation is obviously digging deep into their own self to figure out, you know, who they want to be or what they want to be. And once you discover that, then you can start the process of, okay, what are the habits that are bringing me away from where I want to be? And you have to be honest with yourself and look at them. Obviously, if take nutrition and you're eating a Oreo cookies every night or whatever, you're not going to get to the place you want to be. You have to be honest with yourself, no matter what direction you're taking. But you have to be honest and say, hey, where is this habit taking me? And I think that's the first step.
I think that's such a good point because like once we do that and we see like okay, you say that I say that I want this goal or this transformation, and then I've also become aware of a habit that will prevent me from getting there. Now it's left with there's like a radical choice, right? Where it's like, okay, I see that this thing is preventing me from getting here. I like this thing. I'm comfortable with this thing. I do it a lot, but it's preventing me from getting here. So
hmm
now it's like, well, you can keep this thing and not get the goal, or you can sacrifice the thing and get the goal. There's no wrong answers here. That's just what it is. So it's like, because it's like, do you really want this goal? And then it's like, yeah, but I want this too. And it's like, like if you really want this, remove the Oreo cookies.
Yeah. And
If
there's
you
where the honesty comes in, right?
right, because
That's where,
I think it's really important to ask, like, do I really want this goal? If not, it's okay. Just keep eating the cookies. Like,
mm,
don't cause yourself all the trouble, right? Like,
yeah.
but if you do, if you say that, like, do I really want it? And you're like, fuck yeah, I do. And it's like, okay, cool. Take that energy that you have towards that and remove this other thing. That will get you the most, like, removing things gets you the most, like, fuel towards a goal that I've ever experienced. It's like, it's, think about like these things that you have to sacrifice that are actually, they're almost like creating drag. It's like, think of like a race car that's going down the strip, like when they do those like quarter-mile races, and then like the race cars, they have to like put out a parachute to slow down, you know?
Yeah.
It's like these things are like parachutes on you on the way to your goal, right? And it's like, but we're comfortable with the parachute and we like it, and you get the most bang for your buck when you decide to finally cut the cord on the parachute and just remove the Oreos,
Right
whatever the
on.
Oreos are for you, you know?
Yeah. Remove the resistance. Remove the resistance in your own mind. Just remove it,
Yeah,
you know? Hey, I'm not saying it's difficult, and I'm not saying it's easy. It's challenging.
yeah.
Anyone can do it.
It's challenging all the way up until the point when you actually make the decision to remove the resistance.
Hmm.
And part of that process of making that decision is really asking yourself if you really want the goal or not. And that's why I shared that. Like, it's like, hey, ask yourself if you really want it. And also, it's okay if you don't. Like, who cares what everybody else says that you should do? It's up to you. If everyone else is like, hey, you should be trying to lose weight or get healthy, or they're all leaving like little signals to you, and I'm just staying on the same topic because it's what we've been talking about, you know, they're all like giving you these signals of like that you should go do this thing. It's like, if you really don't want to, then don't, right? Like it's just gonna be a whole bunch of suffering for a goal that you don't even want, and it's gonna be a bunch of suffering. And I guarantee, like, I mean, for that, it's like, um, you may get to the point eventually where you do want that, right? And then you're actually willing to make those sacrifices. But I know from experience that if I don't even really want a goal, if I want to get attain some goal for other people instead of for myself, um, it's going to be impossible for me to remove the parachute, to remove the resistance, because I don't want to remove the resistance. I like the resistance. That's actually what I want. Are
Yeah.
those things, you know? But once I'm actually ready for the goal, then I cut the cord on the resistance, and then it's like the goal is right there. But it only happens when I actually really want it.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. I know I met this I say kid, the guy's like 30. He's 30 years old. He's putting up signs on a hotel we just completed. And he was talking to me, say I've been clean for, I don't know, 7 months or something. And it's funny. People just always open up to me. It's the weirdest thing, but it's the truth, right? So this guy's opening up and over the course of a couple days, and like, oh, that's great. Good for you. And he's like, yeah, I just want to be, I want to be successful. And I said, well, you know what? One of the things you can do is just always remember whatever money you make, have your money make more money for you. That's, the secret. So what do you mean? I go, well, whatever money you make your money work for you instead of you working for money.
Yeah,
And he just had such a challenge at first wrapping his head around it. And he's like, well, how do I do that? Like, okay, so let's just get to the basics, right? So just for now on, whatever money you make, take 10% of it and just put it somewhere and just leave it and let
yeah.
it grow.
Even if it's
And
just S&P 500.
whatever it is,
Yeah,
throw it in an index fund. I don't care what you do with it. But, for me, it's like I like real estate. You know that, you know.
yeah,
Um, but I just said just take that 10% and just train yourself to whatever money you make, 10% of it goes into your account. Have that money make money for you. And he started getting it, and I recommended a couple books for him,
Yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think was one of them. But, at the end of the day, he never was talked to like that. No one ever taught him. And that goes with most of the people, right? Most of the people that I know, that probably, we never took 101 how to build wealth. No, it's
Nope,
always
didn't exist.
it did not exist. So those are
Yeah.
things that you have to teach yourself. But once he heard that, he was like, I could tell just by looking at him, he was like, well, I never thought of saving money, you know, but
Yeah.
that's the beginning of it.
People think about saving money like they think it's like you save money and you keep it in your savings account.
Right.
You spend less. Dollar saved is a dollar earned. While all that is true, it's like yes, a dollar saved is like if you spend less money, you will have more of it. That's true, right? um,
Mm,
but the best thing is to like we'll take the money that you have more of and have it uh multiply, have it make babies, have it make money
yeah.
babies
Yeah.
for you, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to, get wealthy. I mean, we named a couple of them, but there's many ways, right? It's many investments.
Right, like you can like I was gonna say you can create a business, right? But just side note, creating a business, it's not like you just put some money into a business and now you're making money. There's
Right.
like you have to create a business system, and
Yeah.
that's going to take a lot of trial and error, effort. It's going to take work. Just like moving into this place, it's taking work. Like we're working on stuff. You see the guy coming in, Sean. He's awesome coming in. He's doing work. There's work being done, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To make it like how we want. And so it's the same for like if you decide to start a business, it's going to be work to turn it into a system that doesn't involve you. Once it's a system that doesn't involve you, now now you can be like, okay, we put money into the system and then more money comes out, right? Um, and sometimes that can take many, many, many years.
Mm,
But then there's also things where you can like you can buy a business. You can, you know, if you have the capital for that, you can buy real estate. You can invest in stocks, indexes. There's a lot of different things that you can do to make your money work for you. Um, but the prerequisite to do any of those things is you got to have some money, right? So if you're watching this and you're like, well, I'm just trying to not get evicted next month, I would say don't do any of those things. Just go get a job. I don't care if it's at Burger King, Taco Bell, McDonald's, like anywhere where you have some steady income, right? Because once you get one job, the easiest way to get a job is to already have a job, you
yes, that's
know?
true.
And
Right.
so like just go get one from somewhere and uh and then start looking for better ones, and you can start
Mm,
saving and then putting your money to work for you. Maybe you don't even want to have a business, but you can start saving some of that money. And by saving, I mean taking it and investing it in like S&P 500, investing it somewhere that's like that you've looked into. Um, One thing that I like to do is I don't park my money anywhere that I don't if I don't understand it or know about it. And so it's like most of my understanding, like 90% of my understanding when it comes to like money and investing is in like business systems. So it's like if I'm investing any of my money, it's going into my business because that's like 90% of it, because that's where 90% of my understanding is, right? And so
yeah.
as my understanding evolves and I start to understand more about real estate, 20% of it goes in, my understanding is in real estate, then I'll start putting 20% of my money into real estate. But what I won't do is I won't take 95% of the money that I save and put it into something that I only understand like 5%. Like I'm not going to take 90% of all my money and put it into a new crypto coin that I just heard people talking about a lot. Not saying that that's not a good place to put it. It's just that I don't know. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
make that bet. you know?
Yeah. Do some research. Do
Yeah.
some research on the product you're going to invest in if you're going to,
Yeah.
you know. Um, yeah, I think there's many ways. That's one of the greatest things about the internet. If you don't know anyone who where you want to go or you want to become, look it up online. There's so many people online that are so successful, and they're more than happy to show and tell their story.
Yeah, and the other crazy thing too is that, like, I didn't do this for a while, but like you might see people on social media, whether they're growing a social media account. Sometimes they're not. Some of the most successful people just move in silence. You know, you
Mm.
could look up and see who they are, see that they're CEO of this or founder of that,
Yeah,
whatever, but they're not making content on social media. They're just doing what they do and doing
yeah,
it
they're
really fucking well, you know?
yeah, sure.
And
They're flying under the radar.
right. But a lot of times you can get these people's names just from a quick Google search and you can still find them like on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And you could literally just message that you can get onto Twitter, X, formerly called Twitter, right? And just message pretty much anyone in the world. Like you don't need their phone number. You could just send them a message.
Yeah.
You're like,
Let's
hey,
see.
like, you know,
Maybe they'll
like
respond.
I've done that to different like influencers that I follow, people that, you know, create software that I use and I've had just like back and forth like random like banter conversations with like Russell Brunson and like in fact they actually responded. I didn't think they were because
Yeah.
people respond on X. You know, a lot of people
That's
don't
pretty
use it
cool.
for lead gen. They use it just to they're using it themselves. So they
Yeah.
don't have like some appointment setter that's like managing the account for them. Um and so it's like yeah, you could literally, if they're not making content showing you what to do, you could just ask them what to do.
Hmm.
And that's one way you can get in contact with people. You can get in contact with celebrities that way too. But they probably get a lot of messages. So um, be okay if they don't respond.
Yeah. Not high on my list.
Yeah, I think I don't know, is there anything else that you feel like we should cover for
No, I
episode
like that.
eight?
I think you went over some great things, Ron, tonight.
Well, we,
Yeah,
not
we.
yeah.
I let Ron go because he's got a nice way of explaining things.
Sometimes you got to reel me in, bro, because I could just talk for an hour straight. You gotta be like, got it, Ron. That's enough.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
good, buddy. It's always a pleasure.
always. So, if you guys are watching this and you like it, watch more of it. We
Yeah,
have
watch more
more.
of it. And we always keep the mindset somehow. We always go get into that. But any questions, I don't care what it is. I mean, I feel like, I personally feel like the younger generation, um, they got some challenging times ahead of them. My first house I bought was, you ready for this? It's
Oh God.
$121,000.
Yeah, there's a bunch of memes out there about you.
Yeah, yeah, there is. But it's true. And I look at um I look at, you know, late 20, early 30-year-olds. Now they're looking at fixer uppers for five, 600,000,
Yeah,
you know, and I'm just looking at it saying, wow, um, those are different times. Those are
different
different
times,
times.
different opportunities.
Yeah.
That's how I
And
look at it.
there's good opportunity, there's great opportunities, right? There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of positives and there's a lot of, you got to be on it.
It's like if it's like this. It's like if you wanted to create some wealth in the 40s by taking out a loan and opening up a factory, guess what? Perfect time to do that. You know, in the 40s, 1940s, 90 years ago,
Mm,
80 years ago. But if you want to do that today, well, that's a very that's an almost over mature market, right? In the 60s, 70s, if you wanted because so many people were opening up so many factories, um, the thing that was really needed in the like marketplace and economics was distribution centers. You needed we needed we had all these products that were being manufactured and we needed places to sell them. department stores, malls, Sears, Macy's, all these different. You open up a department store in the 60s, good. There's a bunch.
70s even, right?
Yeah,
60s, 70s.
exactly.
Yeah.
So in Walmart, right? Um, and so the whole thing here is like, um, it's like trying to, if you try to create wealth in a prior age, like in a, like, because there was like the manufacturing age and there was distribution age, and then there was the computer age, like with that really started in the late 70s, 80s, right? With a bunch
Hmm.
of people being software engineers, and it's like Bill Gates, but it's like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were coding and doing software engineer stuff in the 70s. They were doing that in the department store age. So when the computer age came about, like they were ready. It's like, what's that statement for luck? When preparation meets opportunity, they were already preparing, right? And then the opportunity came, they capitalized. And so I feel like real estate is like another one of those. It's like that opportunity is really waiting when it comes to creating wealth. It might be a good place to park money and keep it once you're creating it, but to use it to create it, it's kind of like, at least right now, not the best economic conditions for that, right? Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always benefits to real estate.
right.
That's the thing, you know.
Yeah,
Is
and
it
I'm
easy? Is it easy to afford right now?
yeah.
Hmm.
No.
That's the question,
That,
you know.
that's the thing, because there's a lot of stuff where it's like, I heard this from my parents and people that were like probably in their like 60s and up right now. When I was young, they're like, as soon as you can, buy a house because it's a good investment,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because for them, when they were in their 20s, buying a house was a good investment. Like you bought a house, right? Even if all you had was just your income from a job, and you save and you save and you save, get the down payment, you buy the house, it pays itself off over time, and you get a bunch of cash when you sell it. Well, if you buy a house in the market right now, that may not be the case. You'll
Yeah.
get some tax deductions for sure for owning the property. There's other benefits that come along with it, but those benefits really take place if you have different streams of income. Like if you're creating wealth from something else other than a job, that's when you're going to maximize those benefits, right? Um, and so because it lowers your, I'm not a tax advisor, but it lowers your taxable income by owning a property for each property that you own, stuff like that, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so the way that I look at that is like, I'm not saying that it's not a benefit, because there definitely is for sure, uh, but trying to use it as the sole vehicle to create wealth from nothing, like what used to be possible 40 years ago. Well, the game's changed, right? And I think the best thing to do if you're like trying to create some wealth is not look at what has worked in the past, but look at what's working right now, and also look at what does it look like is going to be created because of what's working right now, right? And you start thinking about that, then it's like that. If you focus on that thing, like that's why. Here's just an example for you. A couple episodes back, and stop me if I'm just going on too long forever about this. You could be like, Ron, shut it down. Um,
All right. Okay, a couple episodes from the Mind Design podcast.
yeah. A couple episodes back on our podcast, we were talking about the need for people wanting to just talk with other people because there's all this AI content. We hear that AI voice, and we're like, all right, I'm out of here. Um,
Yeah,
well, I'm like, yeah, this is right now, because right now the age that we're actually in is the artificial intelligence age.
it
It's like
is.
AI came through, and people that had AI based companies like Nvidia, their stock is like skyrocketing, but they
Yeah,
were
just
already,
they just split. Did they split today?
I don't know if they did. Um, I didn't catch up on any like business news, but I know that they were making chips and preparing for this for a long time, and then it's like
Yeah,
AI came out, and now, you know, preparation meets opportunity, right? Um,
yeah,
and but so because everyone's using all this AI stuff, like I'm using it, creators are using it, people just want to connect with other people, at least for online marketing, right? And so it's like I predict that the new age after the AI age is going to be communities and partnerships, at least in the online space, in my little bubble of the business world, because people want to talk with other people. They want to go into a place where there's no bots, there's no spam, there's just people authentically connecting with other people. And I feel like that need is being created by the age that we're in right now because there's a lack of that. And so that's why for like my online business, it's like I'm creating communities and building that because I am preparing for the opportunity that I see coming, you know. Um,
That's really interesting and cool that you said that because it takes me back to when I was a teenager, right? And we used to have these things called the chat rooms, but it'd be on a
yes.
telephone. You know, you could talk to people on a telephone. You didn't know what
Yeah.
they looked like, but you could talk to them on a, and so that's what that reminded me of.
And that is like the whole essence of those communities because that's how the internet started. It was like those chat rooms, then it was like instant messenger chats. You would go onto some forum and like before like Google got huge, right? And it was like you go online and that's all you did. You just talked with random people, you didn't know who they were, and it would be around a certain subject and you would learn things from them. You go into these forums and communities, but it's all typing and screen names, and then you learn things on how to do things and how to you're talking about some topic that you're all interested in, and and then it got to the point where like now it kind of sucks when you Google things. Like if you Google like uh what's the best so the guy who created this community software that I use, like this is a story from him. I'm borrowing it from him. His name's Sam Evans, but it illustrates this point like to the T. Where he said, now he was buying a coffee maker for his office, right? He wanted to get a really good like espresso machine for his office. And so he got on Google and he typed in like best espresso machine. And there was all these articles, and he's like, and I was just sifting through all this shit. Every article I could tell it's just an AI written article, and then there's a link for some coffee machine that's on Amazon. It's like, so it's an affiliate link. He's like, so all the people, all the websites that are popping up are people who make their money by selling products on Amazon, and they know how to make a website that is going to like rank in Google and be first in Google, and so like everything that they're putting in there about why this coffee machine is the best, it's like a sales pitch to get you to want to click the link and buy, but it's not just a real opinion from a real person on what they think about the coffee maker. And Sam was saying, he's like, I'm going through all these websites, I'm seeing all this stuff, and I know that that's what it is. I have to go from site to site to site to site, and I know that these aren't real opinions. It's all just crap on here so that people can try to make some money. He's like, I went through and I looked for like 3 hours. He's like, then I just finally gave up, and I went to a coffee shop. He gave up. He went to a coffee shop, ordered a coffee, and he asked the barista, like, yeah, so I want to get an espresso maker for my office. He's like, what do you think is the best one? And then instantly the barista had a bunch of questions like, okay, how many people work there? Like, what's the size? Like, how much coffee they're going to be drinking a day? How much is it going to be used? And Sam told him all the information. And he's like, oh, this one right here. And he Googled it, showed him. He's like, that's definitely the best one. That's exactly what you need.
Yeah, he
And
would talk
then,
about going direct.
yeah,
That's what he did.
right. But that's what happens when you go to a community of people who are all interested in the same thing. It's like you get
Yeah.
answers like that. And he said the funny thing was that one thing that the barista recommended, which he got, he says is awesome, wasn't listed on any of those websites at all.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty cool. So, like you could have, say, a certain topic, right? And then you say, "Hey, we're gonna be talking about this topic. Anyone who wants to jump on?"
Yeah.
Wow.
Everybody who's in the community is already interested in this thing, right? It's like that's the thing. It's like if you make a community about a certain thing, like we were talking about this in the last episode, talking about, hey, maybe we'll make a community about mindset, personal development.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
everybody who's in that community, it's like you don't accept people in if they're not interested in that thing. You keep the community clean that way.
Yeah.
Everybody's interested in this thing, and everybody's bringing insights and opinions and every time that I've learned how to do anything, it's been from another person, not not from a damn AI written article. you know,
Yeah.
um, like because that can't give me context. An
Mm.
AI written article can't ask me questions to see exactly what I need this thing for, so that it can give me contextual information specific for me. But a
Yeah.
person can do that. And then where do you find people? In communities. And so that's why I think that this is going to be the next thing after the AI thing, because the AI is actually creating the need for this, because now there's all this stuff everywhere. There's so much information that we have to
Yeah.
spend more time sifting through it to find the good info,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah. It's almost like when you're looking just at Instagram or wherever, Facebook, you can tell everything that's AI spoken and everything. It's
Yeah.
like there's a difference.
And we're starting to learn to ignore it.
We're starting, yeah, it's at first I think, wow,
Yeah.
this is pretty cool. My first opinion was like, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But then now it's like, nah, I'm done with that. And you just scroll on, you know?
Right. Until you find a real human. And then you find
Yeah.
out there's a place I can go where there's a group of all real humans that like this stuff, and we get on Zoom
Yeah.
together and we all like,
Someone actually understands how I feel or, you know,
yeah,
which is totally different.
yeah. So that's what I see the market moving to as far as social media and yeah, that's why I'm building a community and putting all my focus there. Because it's like, all right, people want to learn how to get sales online. This is a community for that. And it's cool. I think we started it like 22 days ago. That community, we already have almost 160 people in it. So
Wow.
it's growing,
That's,
you know.
yeah.
But but my plan for that is not for fast growth. It's just like I picture that platform that I do that on to be kind of like what face like right now, it's kind of like what Facebook was like in 2008 when it became public. It's like, imagine if you had started a Facebook business account right when Facebook opened,
Mm.
and you decided to uh, be posting everything that you were doing for your electrical business and giving out tips to other electricians and other electrical businesses and like things that you're learning, whatever, right? And like by now, like almost 20 years later, like if you wanted to create a consulting offer where you're like, hey, I'll walk you through whatever problems you're having with your electrical business. This is my billable hour rate, and you made a post on your Facebook profile, like you just get a bunch of business. A bunch of
Yeah,
people would be like,
everything's already
yes,
there. It's pretty
yeah.
cool. Yeah,
So
that's pretty cool. That's like saying, wow, can you imagine if you would have invested in Apple when it
right,
first came out, right?
yeah. Or
Or
like
Amazon or
if you bought like some Bitcoin in 2014,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, things like that.
But wow, it's like we can get off. Actually, I need to reframe that. I was gonna say we can get off topic so fast on this
Yeah.
podcast, but there is no topic. The topic is life. We're not off
Yeah.
topic. We're talking about life and growth, and so that's on
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah. And send in what you want us to talk about. We'll talk about anything. We'll talk about our opinions on
Yeah,
anything.
I want to rephrase it because like there's a lot of trolls out there. So if you're like wanting us to talk about just some crazy stuff to see if we'll do it, and actually now that I said that, you might actually do that.
Yeah.
Um, probably
Let's
weren't even
test the
thinking about it.
waters.
um, but ultimately, like more than just telling us what you want to talk about, like the thing that we crave is feedback, right? Like somebody commented on one of our last videos and were telling us how helpful this is. So it's like, cool, we know to keep doing more of that. But if you're like, hey, this stuff sucks, I really want to follow you guys and watch more of your stuff, but I hate it when you talk about this, like, let us know that too, right? Because like we're not doing this in a vacuum, right? So like if you're watching this is a two-way thing, right? Um, so let us know what you like and what you don't like, and we'll continue to like adjust and make a tradition
Yeah,
out of it.
right on. I think it's probably the longest one we ever did.
Yeah, we can break more records. I'm sure we can go longer if we choose to, but
Yeah.
it's getting late and we got some. I got
Yeah, you get some chores to do.
yeah, I got work to do, and I know that the girlfriend is patiently waiting for me to finish so that we can do some stuff together. And
Did you guys paint that room or is it
no, it was
original
painted
color?
like this. It's the original color, which is cool because it matches a lot of stuff. I like it.
Yeah, I actually have one of the rooms in my house that color, I think. At
Nice.
least it looks similar.
Yeah, I like it with the white trim because we have a lot of like white decor stuff, so it's gonna match really well when we put
Yeah.
everything up.
Hey, you know what I was going to ask you? Is your cat, is he an outdoor cat or an indoor cat or
No, she's purely
in
indoor.
okay, because I was going to say you know, at least you don't have to worry about when you move the cat getting lost.
Oh, because we moved from the backyard to here. No,
Yeah.
she's an indoor cat. I think that's why, like she's an older cat. She's 11,
Wow.
and she's still like just running around like a kitten. I've had cats before that were outdoor cats, and they end up disappearing after like 5 6 years. It's because
Yeah.
it's like you're out there in the elements where
Yeah.
the other things are out there too, you know. And so they tend to have a much longer lifespan. You can Google it. Like indoor cats have a way longer lifespan than outdoor cats, just because
Mm.
of that, which makes sense. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday on the Mind Design Podcast.
See you around.
Peace.